And that's why, in today's video, I'm going to explain the full story of the Superman movie for all of you, so you can enjoy the story of Superman right from your home. So friends, if you enjoyed today's video and the story of the movie, do like the video. If you're also a fan of Superman, then comment Superman below. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, then go ahead and subscribe, so you can be the first to watch all our latest videos. So now, without any delay, let's start today's amazing video. Zombie Apocalypse. The Superman movie begins in Antarctica, and in this icy region, before the actual events of the movie begin, we hear an announcement about Superman. And through this announcement, we get to know what has already happened in the world of Superman that we are about to see in the movie. Here we learn that in this world, about 300 years ago, metahumans started to appear gradually. Metahumans are humans who look like regular people, but possess physical strength far greater than normal humans. And ever since metahumans started appearing on Earth 300 years ago, a new era of gods and monsters began in the world. Now, basically, in the DC universe, superheroes are considered as gods. And that's why here, gods means DC superheroes, and monsters refers to those superheroes' supervillains. But then we hear that 30 years ago from the present time, a spaceship from an unknown planet in outer space crashed directly on Earth. Inside that spaceship was basically a small child who had been sent to Earth from a faraway planet named Krypton. When this child arrived on Earth, he was raised by a farmer family in America, and then, 3 years ago, the now-grown child announced to the world that he is a superhero. This Superman is the most powerful among all metahumans. After that announcement, Superman took on the responsibility of protecting the entire world. But just 3 weeks ago, a country named Borivia tried to invade a place called Jaharanpur. However, Superman stopped Borivia from doing this, going directly against Borivia's government, president, and army. Because of this, Borivia backed off, but the entire world started questioning Superman's actions. Then just 3 hours ago, a metahuman named Hammer of Borivia attacked Superman in Metropolis City. And just 3 minutes ago, we saw that Superman lost a fight for the first time ever. And now the movie cuts to the present. As the present timeline begins, we see Superman lying injured and bleeding in the icy land of Antarctica. At this point, he's so badly hurt that he can barely move. So the next moment, Superman blows a whistle, calling his dog, Krypto. Within seconds, we see Superman's dog, Krypto, running toward him. At first, Krypto plays with, but then Superman explains to him that he needs to carry him. The next moment, Krypto grabs Superman's cape with his mouth and starts dragging him to a nearby location. As Superman is being dragged, we see several crystals break out from the ice, and then suddenly, a door opens. A door marked with a giant S. Seeing this, we realize that this isn't just any place. It is the spaceship Superman came to Earth in. As the door opens, Krypto drags Superman inside, and once they are in, we see 4 pods, which are actually robot units from the planet Krypton. If we pay close attention, these robots resemble Ultrons from Marvel, but the special thing about them is that they can talk. As soon as the robots see Superman a critical, they quickly pick him up and lay him down in a healing area to treat him. Here we learn that in this world, about 300 years ago, metahumans started to appear gradually. Metahumans are humans who look like regular people, but possess physical strength far greater than normal humans. And ever since metahumans started appearing on Earth 300 years ago, a new era of gods and monsters began in the world. Now, basically, in the DC universe, superheroes are considered as gods. And that's why here, gods means DC superheroes, and monsters refers to those superheroes' supervillains. But then we hear that 30 years ago from the present time, a spaceship from an unknown planet in outer space crashed directly on Earth. Inside that spaceship was basically a small child who had been sent to Earth from a faraway planet named Krypton. When this child arrived on Earth, he was raised by a farmer family in America, and then, 3 years ago, the now-grown child announced to the world that he is a superhero. This Superman is the most powerful among all metahumans. After that announcement, Superman took on the responsibility of protecting the entire world. But just 3 weeks ago, a country named Borivia tried to invade a place called Jaharanpur. However, Superman stopped Borivia from doing this, going directly against Borivia's government, president, and army. Because of this, Borivia backed off, but the entire world started questioning Superman's actions. Then just 3 hours ago, a metahuman named Hammer of Borivia attacked Superman in Metropolis City. And just 3 minutes ago, we saw that Superman lost a fight for the first time ever. And now the movie cuts to the present. As the present timeline begins, we see Superman lying injured and bleeding in the icy land of Antarctica. At this point, he's so badly hurt that he can barely move. So the next moment, Superman blows a whistle, calling his dog, Krypto. Within seconds, we see Superman's dog, Krypto, running toward him. At first, Krypto plays with, but then Superman explains to him that he needs to carry him. The next moment, Krypto grabs Superman's cape with his mouth and starts dragging him to a nearby location. As Superman is being dragged, we see several crystals break out from the ice, and then suddenly, a door opens. A door marked with a giant S. Seeing this, we realize that this isn't just any place. It is the spaceship Superman came to Earth in. As the door opens, Krypto drags Superman inside, and once they are in, we see 4 pods, which are actually robot units from the planet Krypton. If we pay close attention, these robots resemble Ultrons from Marvel, but the special thing about them is that they can talk. As soon as the robots see Superman they quickly pick him up and lay him down in a healing area to treat him. After that, the robots scan Superman's body, and they find out that not only is he severely injured from the fight, but also that 14 of his bones have been broken. To heal Superman, the robots, who are referred to as gods, discuss that Earth's star is a yellow sun, and that the rays of the yellow sun are nothing less than a blessing for Superman. That's because the light from the yellow sun can rapidly heal Superman and restore his powers. To do this, they use a large magnifying glass to focus the sunlight directly on Superman, and as a result, he recovers completely within just a few seconds. His physical strength also returns to nearly what it was before. However, alongside all of this, we also learn that 30 years ago, when Superman was sent to Earth via this spaceship, his mother and father had included a recorded message inside the ship, a final message from both of them. So now, in the present, we hear that message. In it, Superman's parents tell him that their home planet Krypton is on the brink of destruction, and that very soon the planet will be. Therefore, they are sending their son, Superman, whose real name is Kal-El, far away to planet Earth, where he will now have to live. They tell him that as he grows up, he should serve and help the people of Earth. But at the same time, they say, "Dear Kal-El, even after reaching Earth, never forget Krypton. Always remember the spirit and legacy of your home." Unfortunately, we see that the message cuts off at that point, and the robots explain that the rest of the recording is corrupted. This happened because when Superman's spaceship crashed onto Earth, the impact damaged part of the message, so Superman has never been able to hear his parents' full final words. Now, while Superman is still recovering inside the ship, outside in the ice, a DC supervillain named Engineer arrives. She has tracked Superman and located his spaceship. Basically, she followed him here and has now discovered where Superman's hidden healing place is. After that, the robots scan Superman's body, and they find out that not only is he severely injured from the fight, but also that 14 of his bones have been broken. To heal Superman, the robots, who are referred to as gods, discuss that Earth's star is a yellow sun, and that the rays of the yellow sun are nothing less than a blessing for Superman. That's because the light from the yellow sun can rapidly heal Superman and restore his powers. To do this, they use a large magnifying glass to focus the sunlight directly on Superman, and as a result, he recovers completely within just a few seconds. His physical strength also returns to nearly what it was before. However, alongside all of this, we also learn that 30 years ago, when Superman was sent to Earth via this spaceship, his mother and father had included a recorded message inside the ship, a final message from both of them. So now, in the present, we hear that message. In it, Superman's parents tell him that their home planet Krypton is on the brink of destruction, and that very soon the planet will be. Therefore, they are sending their son, Superman, whose real name is Kal-El, far away to planet Earth, where he will now have to live. They tell him that as he grows up, he should serve and help the people of Earth. But at the same time, they say, "Dear Kal-El, even after reaching Earth, never forget Krypton. Always remember the spirit and legacy of your home." Unfortunately, we see that the message cuts off at that point, and the robots explain that the rest of the recording is corrupted. This happened because when Superman's spaceship crashed onto Earth, the impact damaged part of the message, so Superman has never been able to hear his parents' full final words. Now, while Superman is still recovering inside the ship, outside in the ice, a DC supervillain named Engineer arrives. She has tracked Superman and located his spaceship. Basically, she followed him here and has now discovered where Superman's hidden healing place is. But friends, we find out that the villain, Engineer, is currently talking to Lex Luthor. Yes, the same Lex Luthor who is Superman's biggest enemy. Now friends, at this point, you might be wondering, what exactly is going on at the beginning of this Superman movie? But I would just say, stick with the movie, because very soon, everything will be revealed, and the entire story will begin to make sense. In the next moment, we see that Superman has almost completely healed thanks to the sun's rays. And without wasting any time, he flies off at high speed back toward Metropolis so that he can continue the fight with the enemy who injured him. But then the scene shifts, and we're taken straight to the city of Metropolis, where we see the same villain, Hammer of Baruvia, the one who had injured Superman earlier in the fight. And friends, upon seeing Hammer, we realize that he was actually created by Lex Luthor himself, who is now sitting in his office with his team remotely controlling Hammer's actions. Now we all know that Lex Luthor has a deep hatred for Superman, and that ever since he saw Superman 3 years ago, he has been pouring all his wealth and technology into developing gadgets and weapons to defeat and even kill him. He also built a team of highly advanced individuals, and now, with the help of these resources, he has created weapons powerful enough to challenge Superman. One of those creations is this Hammer of Buriwia. However, even though we now know what Lex Luthor is doing to Superman, the reason why he hates Superman so much will be revealed later in the movie. Now moving forward, we see Superman arrives in Metropolis, and as soon as he reaches the city, his fight with Hammer of Buriwia resumes. But in this entire battle, we notice that Lex Luthor is remotely programming all of Hammer's attack sequence, which makes Hammer even more powerful in combat, throwing Superman around in midair. We also learn that Lex Luthor has studied and recorded every one of Superman's past fights, and has programmed all of Superman's fighting techniques into his systems. That's why Hammer now has a counter for every one of Superman's attacks, and in this fight, he completely overpowers Superman. Watching this, Lex Luthor and his entire team celebrate, because today, they have successfully managed to defeat Superman. The same Superman who is considered the most powerful metahuman in the world, and now, friends, Superman, severely wounded, somehow manages to pull himself together and flies away from the battlefield. After Superman leaves, we see the Hammer of Buriwia, who after defeating Superman, flies off to a remote location which turns out to be Lex Luthor's secret base. Once there, he enters a portal, and when he comes out on the other side, he finds himself in a completely different world. This world, which lies beyond the portal, is where we now see Lex Luthor, surrounded by his team. And from what we observe, we realize that this place is actually a pocket universe. That is, a world that looks similar to our universe, but is much smaller in size, and one which is not easily accessible to just anyone. Friends, we learn that Lex Luthor is a genius, as he's always portrayed in DC Comics, and despite being a normal human, he has managed to bring Superman to his knees. And, because he's both highly intelligent and incredibly rich, Lex Luthor used his mind to create a device that could recreate a blast similar to the Big Bang. And as we all know, the Big Bang is what led to the creation of the universe. So when Lex Luthor recreated a similar explosion, he created this pocket universe as a result. Lex then made this pocket universe his private domain, where he conducts all of his illegal activities, and even built a private prison. This prison is where Lex Luthor imprisons anyone who stands against him, or anyone who poses a threat to him in any way. Now, when Hammer of Buriwia enters this pocket universe to meet Lex Luthor, it's revealed that Hammer of Buriwia is actually a fake identity. His real name is Ultraman, and Lex only introduced him under the name Hammer of Buriwia so that the attack on Superman would appear to be politically motivated, and blame would fall on the country of Buriwia. And friends, this is the same country of Buriwia that had tried to invade Zaranpur 3 years ago, but was stopped by Superman. So Lex Luthor gave his creation, the Ultraman, this identity, so that no one would suspect him, and the blame for the attack on Superman would be placed entirely on Buriwia. Now, after all this, the scene shifts again, and we learn that several days have passed since Superman's battle, and the city of Metropolis has been relatively peaceful ever since. And so we finally see Superman in his alter ego, Clark Kent, who is getting ready in the morning and arrives at the Daily Planet office. That is, Clark Kent is now back at his news reporting company, where he works as a journalist. After arriving at the office, Clark meets everyone, and there he also runs into Lois Lane, who is not only his colleague, but also someone with whom he has been in a relationship for the past 3 months. Yes, friends, Clark Kent and Lois Lane are dating. But along with this, we also learn that Lois Lane knows Clark's truth. That is, she knows Clark Kent is Superman. And not just that here, we also learn something interesting about Clark Kent's glasses. You must have noticed that whenever Superman becomes Clark Kent, he always wears glasses, and no one is ever able to recognize him as Superman. The explanation for this is given in the DC Comics, where it's revealed that Clark Kent's glasses aren't ordinary. They actually contain a form of hypnosis technology. Thanks to this hypnosis, anyone who sees Clark wearing the glasses does not perceive him as resembling Superman. And this same detail is also shown in this movie, where we are told that Clark Kent's glasses are hypnosis glasses. That's why no one ever suspects Clark Kent of being. However, after this, we also get a glimpse of Superman's adoptive parents, who call Clark Kent and speak with him on the phone. They tell him that he should take some time out of his busy schedule to visit them, since he's been caught up with work for a long time and hasn't come by. Next, we see Clark, Lois Lane, and their colleagues, who are at this moment discussing Superman and the recent battle he fought just a few days ago. But during their discussion, a news broadcast comes on the TV, in which a reporter questions the president of Baruia about the mysterious Hammer of Baruia, asking who this person is and why he's linked to their country. But hearing this question, the president of Baruia denies any connection and simply tells the press that Hammer of Baruia is not from their country. In fact, he clarifies that Baruia has no relation to this person and that someone else is using their country's name for their own hidden motives. And friends, here's something: the Hammer of Baruia is actual creation of Lex Luthor. Now, right after this revelation, we directly, for those who don't know, the Pentagon is basically the headquarters of the U.S. Department of Defense, and all major defense for the country are taken inside the Pentagon. See Lex Luthor arrive, and several other high-ranking Lex Luthor first show. Then, on a large display, presents his engine. After that, he introduces powerful armored, essentially his private arm. But what really grabs everyone is when he reveals the same metahuman who recently Lex Luthor demonstrates the strength of and the rest of it, telling the is assembled on metahuman, and if the U.S. government he's willing to sell this to them. However, defense questions Lex Luthor. He asks, "What's your real purpose? Why are you?" In response, Lex leans that metahuman and they possess powers far beyond the biggest threat among. He reminds everyone Superman going against their just be. Lex argues that whether was right or the real took action, judgment for riding a sovereign. Now think, what if our own U.S. engages protection, even launches? What's to stop attacking our government? We cannot allow, can't actually. That's why Lex, so that with can not only can ever, and that's why, and as for Lex reminds that, not one, that recent attack on all part of his the government. After hearing all this, the officials begin to agree with Lex. However, they raise one valid: how will we contain someone like impossible in a regular? To this, Lex confident replies that dealing with he will capture using Ultraman and place him, especially one that once that's done, the government experiment on him or even eliminate. And at this point, it becomes clear that Lex Luthor has convinced everyone in the defense minister and the other top officials finally agree to Lex, following the Lex Luthor to capture and lock him his custom. But friends, the biggest concern raised by everyone in the arresting Superman at this could backfire on the government, and the people of the USA might turn. They tell Lex Luthor that Superman is the nation's beloved, and the entire American public loves and respects him. So, if the government captures him without a valid reason and throws him, public outrage will erupt, whole country revolt. That's why, despite Lex Luthor, they cannot currently allow him with capturing. Hearing this, Lex Luthor grows visibly frustrated and tries even harder to convince the. But right then, we see the entry of Rick Flag, a high-ranking and respected official. He speaks up and reveals what the real reason behind Lex Luthor's obsession. Rick explains that there are two neighboring, Borevia and Zaranpur. Recently, Borevia tried to invade Zaranpur by sending in but Superman intervened and stopped preventing Borevia control of Zaranpur. Now, although Borevia has generally had good relations with the United States, it shares an even stronger with Lex Luthor. Why? Because Lex Luthor has recently supplied a large cache of weapons. And of course, Borevia would only need to buy more weapons. Its war effort uses up its arsenal. Superman stopped their attack, the war has stalled, and so has Lex Luthor. That's why Lex now wants to he can expand his arms and profit. Now friends, after hearing this accusation, Lex lists that yes, made weapon. However, he defends by saying that selling arms to other isn't, and he's done everything. So, he's not the one at fault. Has violated international by sovereign. By stopping the U.S. ally, Superman has essentially sided against him, turning a friendly nation enemy. And if Superman can this kind of he could do far more. Therefore, Lex it is absolutely necessary to capture for the greater safety and balance. But even after hearing Lex's entire the officials, they all agree on one thing. They cannot directly, at least not while the world's so friends. While everyone in the is Lex quickly realizes he wants to arrest Superman. He must first in the world again. He must make. Now, if you remember, there's an engine in Lex. She was original, but after several, Lex has implanted many mechanical parts in, turning her into a walking, talking. This same engineer had earlier tracked down Superman's secret hideout and found the exact location of his spaceship. So Lex Luthor heads straight to her and takes her with him to Antarctica, to the exact spot the spaceship was last seen buried in the ice. Now friends, this place has, as soon as Superman approaches, the spaceship automatically activates and the doors open, allowing him. Why? The ship it scans his genetics and only then unlocks it. Obviously, if anyone else comes, the doors should stay shut. But here's the as soon as Lex, the engine, and Ultraman arrive, the doors to the spaceship open by them, and all three walk in. This raises a big question. How did the ship open without being present? This mystery. Once inside, they immediately launch an attack on for defense. They severely damage, destroying much of the. And not just that, they even capture his loyal dog, Crypto, taking him hostage. After that, they come across a message left by Super. However, only half intact, the rest corrupted. Lex instructs the to recover the using her advanced tech, repairs instructs the entire and copy to take with for further. Meanwhile, back in Metropolis, the city being attacked by a giant dinosaur-like monster, wreaking havoc, destroying everything's path. But here's the shocking: Lex himself created and unleashed only Superman busy in battle so that he wouldn't detect the and his plan works. While Lex quietly and escaped, Superman's fully protecting, fighting the monster, saving. Just when the situation gets in, the Justice Gang arrives. This team's Greenland together, the four heroes join forces, saving this. So friends, after this victory, the people of the sea start chanting. Some yell, "Superman, you're our hero!" Others say, "Superman, I love you." Everyone is celebrating with pride and love.
But in the very next moment, something shocking happens. All the digital displays across the city start broadcasting one single news report, and it's about Superman. We find out that Lex Luthor has fully repaired and decoded the recording from Superman's spaceship, the message sent by Superman's real parents, with help from the engineer. And now, Lex plays this video across every screen in the city, ensuring everyone hears it loud and clear. In this message, Superman's parents are seen speaking directly to him, saying, "Kal-El, my son, we love you dearly. Our planet Krypton is on the verge of destruction, and to save your life, we're sending you far away, to a planet called Earth. It's a place where you can survive and live peacefully. But don't forget the purpose of Krypton. First, win the people's trust, then marry as many women as you can and have many children. Children born with your powers. Create a new Kryptonian race on Earth. Then, take over that planet and make all its people your slaves. And remember, Kal-El, anyone who stands against you, destroy them." As soon as the people hear this, Lex Luthor steps in front of the cameras with a crowd of reporters, and says, "This is the real Superman. He's not from Earth. He's an alien, sent by his parents not to save us, but to control us. To use our women, create an army of his children, and one day rule over us all. This so-called hero plans to enslave our planet. And the worst part? Experts across the world verify the video as 100% authentic. The message was truly from Superman's real parents." Now yes, friends, even if this message was real, Superman never heard the full message before. He only ever saw the beginning parts. He's always believed in helping Earth's people and protecting them. He's never had evil intentions. In fact, Superman has never killed a single human being, no matter how evil they were. He values every life and treats Earth as his own home. But none of that matters now, because the world has turned against him. Lex Luthor's master plan is working. Just moments ago, people were cheering Superman's name. And now those same people are throwing insults at him, even trying to attack him with whatever they can find. Confused and heartbroken, Superman flies off and goes to the Justice Gang headquarters, hoping to talk to his fellow heroes. But there, too, he sees doubt in their eyes. They've started questioning Superman, unsure of what to believe. That's when Hawkgirl asks him something that snaps him to attention. "Superman, how did Lex Luthor even get access to this recording from your parents?" The moment she says that, a realization hits Superman, and without wasting a second, he flies straight to his spaceship. And what he sees there shocks him. The entire place is in ruins. His 4 security robots, smashed. And his loyal dog Crypto, kidnapped. Now, seeing everything that had happened, Superman was burning with rage. Without wasting a second, he flew straight to Lex Luthor's company. Landing with fury in his eyes, he demanded, "Where is my dog? What have you done with him?" But Lex Luthor, ever the manipulator, was already one step ahead. He had arranged for the entire encounter to be recorded. And then, using Superman's anger as ammunition, he declared to the world, "See? Now that I've exposed his truth, Superman is here to kill me. This is his real face." Unfortunately, this twisted narrative began working against Superman. His anger, instead of helping, started backfiring. Frustrated and confused, Superman left and flew back to his home. Sitting there in silence, everything seemed to be falling apart, until his girlfriend, Lois Lane, showed up. She walked in calmly, looked him in the eyes, and said, "I believe in you. I know who you really are. That recording, that message. It's not who you are. You're Earth's hero. You would never hurt anyone." Hearing that, Superman softly smiled and thanked her. But then, he told her the hard truth. "The US government has issued an arrest warrant for me. I'm going to surrender." And with that, Superman turned himself in, willingly. But what happened next was shocking. Instead of handling things lawfully, the the government handed Superman directly over to Lex Luthor. Lex, with his private army, took him into custody and used a portal to transport him to a hidden pocket universe. There, he threw Superman into a personal prison, a place where many others were also locked up, victims who had opposed Lex in one way or another. Inside Superman's cell was another man. Lex came to visit and introduced him. His name is Rex. But I call him the Element Man. I gave him powers, he can create any element from his body. I put him here with you, to keep you in control. At first, Superman didn't understand. But then, with one command from Lex, Element Man transformed his hand into kryptonite. Kryptonite, the one thing that could break Superman. The moment it appeared, Superman began to weaken. His strength faded. His body trembled. He dropped to the ground. And then, Lex began his cruel parade. First, he showed Superman his beloved dog, Krypto, also locked in a cage. Then, he displayed the robot monkeys, all programmed to curse and insult Superman 24/7 through computer feeds. Only then did Superman realize, the hatred he'd been receiving on social media, it wasn't from the people. It was engineered by Lex Luthor himself. Lex sneered, I want to kill you right now. But the government wants to interrogate you first. That's the only reason you're still alive. And with that, Lex turned to Element Man and ordered him to watch over Superman carefully before leaving the prison. But here's the twist. Element Man wasn't evil. In fact, he was a good person, forced into this. Lex was blackmailing him. He had locked up Rex's son in another cell and placed a guard with him. If Rex disobeyed, his son would be executed. Meanwhile, back in the real world, we shift to Lois Lane, who was now in her office, talking to her colleague Jimmy. She told him that Superman had surrendered himself to the government, but then vanished completely. But now, we learn something new about Jimmy. He was secretly connected to Lex Luthor's current girlfriend. Actually, Lex's girlfriend had feelings for Jimmy. Why? Because Jimmy was kind and genuine, everything Lex wasn't. Lex, in contrast, was arrogant, abusive, and cruel. His girlfriend wanted to leave him, but she was scared. Why? Because every woman who ever tried to leave Lex ended up imprisoned in his secret jail. So, out of fear, she stayed. But because of her affection for Jimmy, she would secretly meet him and leak insider info about Lex. That's how Jimmy kept getting scoops, and how they planned to uncover the truth. At the same time, Lois Lane, now deeply worried, went to the Justice Gang and pleaded for help. Among the team, Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific, only Mr. Terrific stepped up. He told Lois, I can track Superman. I implanted nanochips in all my close allies, including him. He quickly checked the tracker. Superman's last known location? A remote area. But after that, no signal. Mr. Terrific looked serious. These chips never turn off, not even if the person dies. If there's no signal, it means Superman isn't in our world anymore. Lex Luthor must have taken him somewhere else. And with that, Mr. Terrific and Lois set off to uncover the truth. But Green Lantern and Hawkgirl refused to help. We can't go against the government, they said. And thus began a dangerous mission, one woman and one hero against a powerful enemy hiding behind lies and power. And that's why Lois Lane goes alone with Mr. Terrific to that location. As soon as they arrive, Mr. Terrific defeats the guards and then, upon seeing the portal, quickly activates it and tries to enter it. His goal is to find Superman and rescue him. Inside the portal, we see that Superman realizes Element Man is doing all of this to save his child. So Superman tells him that he will help save the child if Element Man removes the kryptonite in front of him. Element Man agrees and removes the kryptonite. However, after being exposed to kryptonite for so long, Superman becomes very weak. He tells Element Man that he won't regain his powers until he's exposed to sunlight. Hearing this, Element Man quickly gathers the elements that make up the sun and creates a miniature sun. The sunlight heals Superman completely. Then Superman breaks out of his cell, saves Element Man's son, and releases his dog, Krypto. Together, the three defeat all the guards. Meanwhile, Mr. Terrific locates Superman and sends a flying bot to inform him that he and Lois Lane are waiting for him outside the portal. Superman quickly escapes the pocket dimension with Krypto, Element Man, and his son, returning safely to Earth. Element Man leaves with his son after thanking Superman. But Lois and Mr. Terrific notice Superman is still in bad shape. Mr. Terrific explains that Superman's body is full of kryptonite poison and he needs at least a day or two of rest to recover. He sends Superman home with Lois. Lois brings him home, where Superman, Clark Kent, is taken care of by his parents. Slowly, Superman begins to recover. Meanwhile, Lois's colleague Jimmy receives a call from Lex Luthor's girlfriend. She tells him she's fed up with Lex's mistreatment and sends Jimmy many selfies that secretly expose Lex's illegal activities in the background. Lois and Jimmy analyze the images and realize that all of Lex Luthor's evil plans, maps, notes, and weapons deals, are visible behind her in the photos. They discover Lex Luthor had sold weapons to a country called Bolivia, forgiving most of the payment in exchange for Bolivia's help in conquering a neighboring country, Saharanpur. After victory, Bolivia agreed to give half its land to Lex, where he would establish his own private nation called Luthoria and rule it unopposed. Jimmy and Lois decide to expose Lex's entire plan through their news agency. But then the scene shifts. Lex learns Superman has escaped and, in anger, decides to expand the pocket universe portal he created. As the portal grows, cracks begin to form across Metropolis, threatening to destroy the city. The government declares an emergency and begins evacuations. Jimmy and Lois publish the exposé, revealing Lex Luthor's truth to the world. Back home, Superman also learns of the crisis and rushes to save people. Mr. Terrific joins him, but soon, they are attacked by Engineer and Ultraman. A fierce battle ensues. Lex orders Engineer to extend her mechanical parts into Superman's mouth and block his lungs to suffocate him. Superman begins to choke and flies upward. Engineer and Ultraman latch onto him, but Superman keeps flying, straight into outer space. Then, from space, he begins to plummet rapidly back toward Earth. As soon as they hit the ground, Engineer is seriously injured and nearly loses consciousness. Superman quickly pulls all of her parts out of his mouth and takes a moment to breathe. But right after, Ultraman appears before Superman. He removes his mask, and Superman is shocked. Why? Because Ultraman looks exactly like him. It turns out Lex Luthor had set up many flying cameras around them. Speaking through the cameras, he tells Superman that he actually created Ultraman using Superman's own DNA. Then Lex Luthor reveals the real reason he hates Superman so much. He says, "I'm one of the greatest geniuses in the world, greater than Galileo or even Einstein. And yet, when people compare me to them, I get furious. But do you know what makes me angrier? When the world praises you, calls you a superhero. At least Galileo and Einstein did something for humanity. But you? You're just an alien who got powers as a gift and became a messiah without doing anything. Your very existence reminds me how insignificant we humans are compared to someone like you. That's why I've hated you for years, and that's why I'll destroy you." Lex then reveals that 3 years ago, when Superman first appeared as a hero, he secretly followed all of Superman's battles. In one such location, he found a strand of Superman's hair. Using the DNA in that hair, he created Ultraman, who is even more powerful than Superman. Superman now understands how Lex Luthor managed to enter his spaceship. Since Ultraman has Superman's DNA, the ship's doors opened for him, letting Lex in as well. Then begins a brutal battle between Superman and Ultraman starts to overpower Superman. But suddenly, Superman smiles. He whistles, a signal for his dog, Crypto. Then he tells Lex, "You're watching me through all these flying cameras and controlling Ultraman through them. But now, I'm going to destroy them." He commands Crypto to destroy the cameras. In seconds, Crypto takes out all the flying cameras, cutting Lex Luthor's connection to Ultraman. Lex can no longer watch or give voice commands. Furious, Lex sends his entire army of men in powerful suits to attack Superman. But Superman, using his heat vision while spinning, defeats them all at once. The fight then moves near the Pocket Universe Rift, where a black hole opens. All of Lex's soldiers get sucked in, along with Ultraman, who is destroyed. Superman and Crypto fly out and head straight to Lex Luthor's office. There, Crypto viciously takes Lex down. Soon after, Mr. Terrific arrives. Since Lex had the codes to seal the Pocket Universe, Mr. Terrific uses Lex's computer to close the rift. As a result, the cracks in Metropolis heal, and the city's surface returns to normal. Meanwhile, thanks to Lois and Jimmy's reporting, the world learns the truth about Lex Luthor, that he is not just a villain but a traitor to his country. He was supplying weapons to countries like Bolivia, helping them conquer others. The government arrests Lex and sends him straight to jail. As for Superman, the world once again hails him as their beloved superhero. He also rescues all the prisoners trapped inside the Pocket Universe. But due to injuries, Superman returns to his spaceship for recovery. There, we learn he has repaired his 4 Kryptonian robot assistants, who begin treating him. Then enters Supergirl, his cousin. She hugs Superman and then greets Crypto, the dog. Before leaving, she thanks Superman for taking care of Crypto and takes the dog with her. After she leaves, Superman tells his robot assistants that his cousin is always drunk and visits planets with red suns to get intoxicated, because Kryptonians can't get drunk under yellow suns. While resting, Superman now watches not just videos of his Kryptonian parents but also the videos of his Earth parents. His robots note that he finds great comfort in watching these. This shows that no matter where Superman came from, he now belongs to Earth. He is Earth's Superman. And with that, the movie ends.